Hey, what is going on, guys? It is your good friend Matt. We're back again here today at the only place that we always can be. And as you already know, that is Matt's Wrestling Collectibles right here on YouTube. Today, guys, we have another episode of Casual Conversation. This is going to be episode number 13. And as always, bringing you a different topic every time. Always trying to talk about a little something different. And today's topic, I actually got this idea from another channel, so a big shout out to My Damn Toys, because if I didn't hear this from him, I probably wouldn't have come up with this. This wouldn't have been a topic of conversation for me, but when he said it, it really started to make me think a lot about it, and he went into it a little bit of detail with it. So a big shout out to My Damn Toys, and if you guys want to get over there and check out his channel, he has got an immense following already. If you don't already know him, I would be surprised, but he has a ton of videos every day, sometimes multiple videos a day. So definitely get over there and check out My Damn Toys on YouTube. But today, guys, we are going to be going on the topic of conversation, which is if Mattel lost the WWE contract, if they lost the contract to make WWE wrestling figures, what would you do? Would you continue to collect? Would you hang on to the things that you already have? Or would you just stop collecting altogether? So that is going to be what we talk about here today, guys. So I can't wait to get into it. We're going to jump right into this video, and we're going to start off with a few things that kind of, I guess, relate directly to myself and to a little bit of kind of where this all even came from. You know, hearing this from another channel, like I said, hearing this from My Damn Toys, the reason why it resonated so much with myself, and the reason why we're here talking about this today. We go back to 2010. We could even go back to, I guess you could say, 2009, when we officially found out that Jakks Pacific would not be making WWE figures anymore. As of January 1st, 2010, it was going to be Mattel. It was going to be the same company that most people knew infamously for making Hot Wheels. And I said, man, this is going to be a little bit different, huh? This is going to be, I don't know, something that we might not really be excited for. Maybe we should be excited. I didn't know at the time. I was very young. I was, still in my, I guess you could say, greatest days of collecting, because it wasn't what it was any more than just having fun and buying figures. So, we look at things a little bit differently today. As you get older, as you collect more, of course, you view your collection much differently. So today, I look at the figures that I have, I look at the collection that I have, I'm very grateful for it, and I think back to those days of when we found out that Jakks was no longer going to be in charge, and we were moving over to Mattel. One of the main things that I did right away, and considering that this was in the major moments of Matt's Wrestling Collectibles being what it was, I was still doing my store every single weekend, Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 5, or even I really should say from 8 to 5. Every Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 5, we were doing the flea market. We were always there. We had the store up and running every single weekend. So at that time, when I heard, oh, okay, Mattel's taking over, this is going to be a whole new brand. This is going to be a whole new company. This is going to be a whole new way of life, essentially, for what we're getting as figures. My first thing that I did, I went right to my collection and I said, what in my collection is not valuable to me anymore? What is stuff that I don't even care about? What are some of the things that I don't need, don't want, don't care to even have anymore? Might have been some items that I didn't even really care to get when they came out, but at the time, of course, it was what we had. It was the only thing we knew. So, and let me kind of break this down for you guys so you can understand a little bit of where we were at. 2009 going into 2010, Jakks was making WWE figures, and obviously now they were going to be losing the contract to Mattel, but then all of a sudden Jakks picks up TNA figures. Now they're going to start making the TNA line. So now we start to say, okay, we're going to get TNA figures that we really didn't get before, but in a lot of ways they were all figures that we got before. Other than some of the guys like, maybe Jay Lethal or, the Motor City Machine Guns. You could even go with like guys like Magnus or Amazing Red, Shark Boy. There were a lot of figures that we were going to get that we did not receive from Jakks. But when you talk about the Mick Foleys, the Mankind's, the Hulk Hogan's, the Scott Steiners, the Kevin Nash's, there were so many figures that they were going to start to make, even Rob Van Dam being one of them as well, that we already had from Jakks. So there was like some new stuff, but there was still some old stuff. One of the other problems that we now ran into was Jakks also picked up the UFC figures. So it was kind of a tough moment where you're like, well, do I keep collecting just off of Jakks alone and continue to do that? And obviously, you know, if you were still collecting Jakks to this day, or even maybe Figure Toy Company, which used to be the Wrestling Superstore in Cranston, Rhode Island, for some of you who might be local, that is something that was kind of on, I think, a lot of people's minds. What do we do at this point? Scaling, you know, difference in accessories, what we were going to see, what we were going to get. What exactly were we going to have to continue to collect? And like I said, myself, oh man, I regret it every day. I sold so many of those Jakks figures, and even now I've repurchased since collecting again, since starting this collection back up at the very end of 2021, beginning of 2022. I have since recollected about 25 Jakks figures. So could kind of tell you a little bit of where we're at as far as what the collection, I guess, really came down to. And with so many guys that are getting these contracts again, we're hearing that, you know, Armando Estrada is getting a Legends deal. We're hearing that Jesse the Body Ventura is supposedly going to be getting a Legends deal. So like an example, on my list of Jakks figures that I am looking to purchase, the second that I hear a guy that we haven't gotten in Mattel is now going to be getting a contract where he is going to get a Mattel figure, if he is on that figure list of only being able to purchase that in Jakks, and I shouldn't say that, but like an example, Jesse Ventura, just being, you know, off of what we're already talking about here, Jesse the Body Ventura had LJNs back in the day. But obviously, when I want to add a figure to my collection, I want it to be as modern as it possibly can be. So with that, I always try to say, okay, well, let me get the most modern version of what's available, of what I can get. So if it comes down to it and you said, hey, Matt, Jesse the Body Ventura, not available in Mattel, not available in Jazzwares, not available in the MLW figures or anything along those lines, you're going to have the option to get him as a LJN, which odds of getting that in the box are probably going to be slim to none, especially with the price point. Or you could spend maybe about, let's just say it's in the $100 or less range on his Classic Superstar figure, and you could have Jesse the Body Ventura that way. Well, of course, I'm going to go with the Jakks. I'm going to go with the Classic Superstars. But again, once I hear Legends deal in place, signed, done, confirmed, and figures are coming from Mattel, I cross them right off the list of the Jakks figures because I don't even care. And Jesse Ventura and Armando Estrada now being two more that I cross off that list, as we are going to get them in Mattel. So that's awesome. I'm very excited for that. I'm very happy for that. I'm very much looking forward to it. So, but that's kind of where I wanted to break this down and kind of start with here, is that a lot of the figures that I continue to buy, if they are Jakks, they're going to be figures that you're not going to get. Like I have Johnny the Bull over there from the Full-Blooded Italians, the FBI. We have Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin in the World's Greatest Tag Team 2-pack. And now, of course, Shelton Benjamin, we already do have him in the Mattel line. And actually, I do believe I have Shelton Benjamin right up there over on the side over there with the rest of the Hurt Business figures, which was really cool. Obviously, having Bobby Lashley, MVP, Cedric Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin building the Hurt Business. And of course, I mean, you could even go a step further and to say that, you know, Omos and possibly even the Street Profits, and of course Bobby Lashley. So there's a lot of guys that made up the Hurt Business in one way or the other. So I believe we do have actually every single figure as far as it goes for guys that were in that stable. And as far as guys that were made in the attire, you know, MVP in the suit, Lashley, Benjamin, and Alexander all in Hurt Business attire. So we have all of those, which is very cool. But again, you know, you go back to, like I said, these figures where you could sit there and say, like the Shelton Benjamin, like I was just talking about, being that he is in that 2-pack. Obviously, I'm not going to get rid of him. I'm going to keep it as a 2-pack, but I wanted that Charlie Haas. Same thing with the 2-pack with Johnny the Bull. He comes with a Chavo Guerrero. I do have the Chavo Guerrero Elite Series 5, probably one of the most sought-after Elite figures that I know of still to this day. I think a lot of people would probably put that in their top 10, maybe top 15, 20. I think he definitely rounds out the top 20 no matter what, but Chavo Guerrero being one of the ones that people are looking for, very much so. And like I was going to say, guys, you know, as we look into this and look into the main question here that, you know, came from MDT My Damn Toys, he basically said, what would happen right now if, let's just say, 2025, that's it, January 1st, 2025, they get a new contract? What would you continue to do? And I want to say that from my own perspective, after selling off all the Jakks figures that I had, and like I try to tell you guys, collected from 1997, 98 to 2018, I had over 4,000 wrestling action figures. To sit there and see all that go, to be somewhere around the 550 mark right now, and continuing to grow back to that. Obviously, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty wild. It's definitely, it's something that I regret, like I said, every single day. But in that moment, in that time period, in the process of Matt's Wrestling Collectibles being up and running every single weekend, trying to bring new products to the table, trying to bring new, appeal to new customers every single weekend, it was something where I said, let me just keep unloading this, because my young mind at that time thought, well, Matt, any figure that's been made by WWE and Jakks is going to get made by WWE and Mattel. And then we got the original first pictures, first prototype images. We were like, what is this? Ruthless Aggression being replaced with Basics? Deluxe Aggression being replaced with Elites? What is this? Like, what are we getting here? And we started to look at these figures, and I never forget. I look at the MVP of the very first series, Elite Series 1, and I was like, I'm not liking this at all. Used to the very generic Jakks figures to now a much more realistic based elite style, elite scaling. And I will say this to anybody who probably does do this. If you open all your figures and you like to have everything displayed, if you are collecting elites and basics, they don't scale too bad with a Jakks Ruthless Aggression style figure. But obviously, if you get a Jakks Deluxe Aggression style figure, they scale completely off. There's just no way to make sense of it. So I would say, give or take, there are some things that work out. There are some things that don't. But now we move into the future. We move down the line, we move down the road here to what we have now with all these years that have gone by. And you say to yourself, well, a lot of these figures are being remade. A lot of these figures are finally being made in general. We have other lines like Powertown Wrestling that's coming out with figures that are basically, I don't want to say one-offs, because we look at like the very first series of Powertown. Kerry Von Erich was made by Mattel. Magnum TA was made by Mattel. Bruiser Brody was made in Jakks Classic Superstars. But Luthez, Vern Gagne, and Stan Hansen, not figures that we received in a modern style figure. And when I say modern style figure, guys, I basically mean anything from the time that Jakks started making Ruthless Aggression figures. I consider that to be a modern body. You have your cuts in the shoulder, you have your cuts in the bicep, your elbows bend, your hands move. That's basically where I start to feel like those are the more modern wrestling figures. Before that, even the pre-Ruthless Aggression figures from Jakks, you had, a lot of figures like the Titantron figures. And they were great figures, don't get me wrong. Like, they're still somewhat able to be displayed with these figures, so they could almost ride the line of, like, modern. But again, it is to everybody's preference and what you think. And again, these are all just opinions of mine, guys. We sit down here at Casual Conversation. We like to talk. We like to just kind of break down what we feel, what our thoughts are on the situation. And guess what? Nobody is right. Nobody is wrong. You can drop your opinion down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. When did the modern era of wrestling figures start? And what do you think about what we're talking about today? Would you still be collecting figures if Mattel loses the contract right now? Imagine if Mattel lost the contract and they went back to Jakks. What a day that would be, huh? That would be pretty crazy. But again, guys, there is so much to discuss with this, and we can keep, going through this. And like I said, look at the figures that we purchased back and some of the ones that are really, really expensive. When we go back to the Classic Superstars line, Chief J Strongbow, I grabbed him from the classic line just before Mattel announced that they were going to do a figure of him, in which it fell through, obviously due to some different issues and whatever. I'm not going to get into the political side of it, but I have that figure. I purchased that figure for like $20 or $25. It's crazy to think, guys. It really is, considering that Mattel's figure would have come out and probably been in the $25 to $30 price point, and I look at, spending the same thing on a Jakks Classic Superstar. Granted, the Mattel would have had a lot more detail. It would have been a much nicer figure. But considering now that we have so much going on, considering that so much has changed, I don't know what is going on today, guys. Nose is itching over here. Got something going on. I don't know. They say when your palms itch, you're going to get money. So I don't know. It's not that. So I don't know what it means when your nose is itching. Who knows? Hopefully something good coming around the corner. But anyway, guys, we go back to some of those figures, the Buff Bagwells, the Chief J Strongbow, like the Tank Abbotts. I even got, Spike Dudley, Al Snow, a lot of guys that are definitely figures that I don't think you're going to see get remade, especially by Mattel. I mean, granted, anything's possible, so it could happen. And with like somebody like Al Snow, I think it's like Zombie Sailor Toys or something along those lines. There's so many different companies now that are making figures, but they're supposed to be making an Al Snow or something like that, or Faces and Heels or something like that. It's supposed to be making an Al Snow figure. But as far as I understand, that figure is going to be him in his one piece, like purple and black jumper there, whatever you want to call it, wrestling almost like attire, very similar to a wrestling singlet. But that is going to be what I think he comes in. So you're not going to get him in the shorts that say, 1, 2, 3, 4 Job Squad for, or 1, 2, 3 Job Squad for life, or whatever it is, Job Squad 1, 2, 3 for life. So you're not going to get that figure, which is why I'm very happy to have that one. And it's, a great part of the collection. Signed as well. And then also you look at things like the other day, Kevin Sullivan, and I shouldn't say the other day, close to about a month ago, I believe, Kevin Sullivan passed away. Kevin Sullivan, a huge influence and a very, very powerful mind in the world of professional wrestling. I have his Jakks Classic Superstar. WWE did honor him on TV. Will we potentially see a Mattel deal done? Could he get a Mattel figure? Wouldn't that be something awesome to see? I would love that. But for the time being, we do have the Jakks figures. And I will say this. If any of the Jakks figures I currently have were to be remade in Mattel, I don't know if I would get rid of them. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. It would really just depend, I guess, on what the figure itself looks like, because we have the example of the Sandman. Sandman got announced. I said, awesome. Sandman's getting re-released. I said, of course, it's going to be WWE ECW Sandman. It's got to be, right? Got to be that. Can't be anything else. I take my Jakks WWE ECW Series 1 Sandman Ruthless Aggression figure. I sell it. Well, Sandman comes out. Not only does he come out, but he's got a chase. So now I say it's a guarantee that we're going to get this figure. Nope. We've got Sandman in 2 separate versions of a much older style ECW Sandman, a throwback, if you will, which great figures. I can't wait to add them to the collection. But that's the point. You got to know exactly what you're going to be getting, because if you don't, what do? You wind up doing what I do, and I've done it so many times. I keep saying I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to change up. I'm going to change my ways, but I never do. I always wind up in the same situation again. I wind up selling the figure. I wind up saying, I'm just going to get it back. I'll get it back. I'll do this. I'll do that. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like that Sandman that I'm talking about right now, I have probably sold maybe 4 or 5 of them at this point. So it is what it is. You live and learn as you collect, and we're doing a lot more learning than living sometimes, so it's just, it is what it is, guys. You know what I mean? Like I always say, I'm having fun with it. I hope you guys are too. Hope you guys are enjoying your collections. That's what it is about, and it's about having fun. So when you're collecting, and when you think about collecting, the big question here that we come back to again is, if Mattel right now said, hey, January 1st, 2025, our contract is up. We don't know who's going to get it. Could it be Jazzwares? Could it be Jakks? Could it be Faces and Heels? Whatever it could be, right? I mean, obviously, it's going to have to be a big-time company. And also, I will throw this out there. I would imagine you will never see a company doing both, because it doesn't logically make sense. To sit there and say, like back in the day, hey, Jakks, you have a contract for UFC figures and TNA figures. They don't cross the line. You like that? It was a little throw-in right there without even trying. They don't cross the line. TNA, they don't cross the line. They don't cross the line of one another, because if you have somebody who's into both, they're going to collect both. If you have somebody who's a professional wrestling fan and that's what they do, they probably don't care about UFC. They don't care about boxing, kickboxing, whatever. vice versa. I am obviously one of the minority in that situation where I do love to watch UFC religiously. I cannot miss a UFC event. I've seen, every single one of the UFC events that I believe since 2017. And that all started, back in 2014, 2015 with the rise of, Conor McGregor. And that's kind of what really brought me into wanting to watch UFC. I see a press conference clip of this Irish guy talking a whole bunch of shit at a press conference, and I said, man, I really like this. Like, what's going on here? I want to see these guys fight because this is real. And before I even go a step further, let me just say, I am not saying that professional wrestling is a completely fake sport by any means, so please don't even think that I would, be going down that road. But obviously, predetermined things versus non-predetermined things, unless we're going back to the Pride days, which is a whole nother video, a whole nother day. But with the UFC and with the difference in, obviously, real deal fights, real outcomes versus predetermined, and granted, still people getting injured, banged up, hurt, whatever. But at the end of the day, again, it's a much different thing. They don't cross each other. So I could not see something not already being in place. Hey, we're WWE. We're sitting down with Mattel right now. Hi, Mattel. It's WWE. We want you to work on our figures. But right here in this contract where you're about to sign, it's going to say that you can only produce our wrestling figures. You cannot produce any other wrestling figures at all, as I would assume to be the case, because obviously you look at the MLW figures being produced by, Boss Fight, WWE produced by Mattel, AAW being produced by Jazzwares, and Powertown getting these one-off guys or these exclusive contracts for these, guys that, again, who would ever even think to see them in some of these other lines. So it is very much a thing where these guys and these contracts all have to be figured out, all have to come together. So I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to switch up everything right now. But we are coming to the end of this casual conversation, and to answer the question that I've asked all of you, it is now time for me to answer that question for all of you. If I found out right now that in 2025 we didn't know who, but somebody new would take over the WWE wrestling figure line, I would still continue to collect, and I would collect differently, and I would have a much different opinion and a much different outlook on it than I did before. I would not go into things expecting everything to get re-released. I would keep a lot of things until we would see essentially a re-release of it, even though it's not re-released, because it would be a first time or a new release by a new company. But it would be the fact that I would sit there and probably say, an example, if I have 15 John Cenas that all have different attires, I would personally hold on to them. And let's say, hey, all right, they said they're announcing that this figure is going to get remade by them. All right, we saw the photos. Until I see the item itself, I don't know if I would decide to keep both or to get rid of one or the other, or to not purchase the new one and keep the old one. So I think that's where it would stand for me, guys. I think I would probably have to say I would continue to collect, I would keep what I have, and I would keep moving forward with it, because that is that's the name of the game. So, but that's basically where I'm at, guys. This one is pretty short and sweet, I think, for the most part. I think we all kind of understand where we're going with this and what we would want to see out of our collection. So you would know whether you would want to continue to do so or kind of just be done with it altogether. But again, that leaves me to ask you guys, if the same question was asked to you, come 2025, Mattel is done, a new company's coming in, you don't know who the company is, what would you do? Would you keep your collection and not purchase anything else? Would you keep your collection and continue to collect afterwards? Or would you sell off everything you have and be done with it altogether? What is the answer from you guys? I would love to know. Drop it in the comments below. Let me know how that goes. And also, guys, do me a couple of favors. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on my channel. You can subscribe to all my videos. If you really, really like me and you want to see me every day, all you have to do is hit that bell icon and get those push notifications going. You will see me every single time that I drop something. Like I already said, leave a comment in this video. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your opinion is on this. And as well, guys, one last thing. The Matt's Wrestling Collectibles Facebook pages. We are making a change, and I want everybody to know exactly what is going on. The Matt's Wrestling Collectibles main page that you like, not the one you join, this is just the page. The main page you like is staying the same. It is not going anywhere. It will be there until the end of the days of Matt's Wrestling Collectibles. The thing that is changing right now, you are already possibly on the Matt's Wrestling Collectibles group page on Facebook, which means that when you go to the group page, it says Matt's Wrestling Collectibles with a little dash Wrestling Figure Planet. That page is going away, guys. It is a private page. We are all done with it. We are making a new, and it is already posted, public group page for Matt's Wrestling Collectibles. You can go and join that one. As the timing of this video, tomorrow, Sunday, we will be getting rid of the Matt's Wrestling Collectibles page that is the private one. So we will still have the main Matt's Wrestling Collectibles page that you can go on and like. We will have the public Matt's Wrestling Collectibles group page that you will be able to go on and join. The private group will be gone. So long, see you later. And that will be the end of that. We will obviously continue here on YouTube. And you can also get me on MERCARI at the MERCARI store. As always, that will be in the description to this video. You can find me on all of those different platforms. And as well, guys, if you all could, if you haven't already, make sure you make the switch and get over to the Facebook group page. Make sure you join that as well. And like I already said, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see me in all the videos that are to come in the future. But until that day, until the next video, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Matt's Wrestling Collectibles Casual Conversation. And until the next video, I will see you all then. Stay safe and stay tuned.